So I asked this dude, hey, what did you do that made you a billionaire? And he says, Daniel, millionaires focus on ideas, execution. They focus on strategy. They focus on whatever, vision, whatever you name it. Above all, there's one thing I've always focused on.
What are your last thoughts? If somebody's watching our channel, they want to think like a millionaire, they want to strategize like a millionaire, and they want to become a first-generation cash flow millionaire.
Yeah.
And understand the values and principles of making sure that it lasts the test of time. Up, down market, craziness in the economy, COVID, pandemic, lockdown, shutdown, anything. What are your 2 cents and how would you guide them through that and building their wealth, building their enterprise with God?
Yeah. So that's a very interesting question. Typically a lot of people at this point would say, well, if you want to make $1 million, help 1 million people, and I believe in that, by the way. I absolutely do. You know what I mean? But I don't think that's 100% truth, right? I mean, I can go to downtown Chicago and hand out hot dogs all day long, and I can help 1 million people. It doesn't mean I'm going to make $1 million. The question that I would ask is, what is the byproduct? What are the action steps that you're doing right now that is creating byproducts that is equaling to $1 million? So I would say 2 things. Number one, have what's known as your KPIs, your key performance indicators, right? Okay. Set standards and expectations. What are things that you should be doing every single day, every single week, every single month to ensure your success? Most people fail because they have no idea what success even means. They have no ways of tracking and progressing, right?
It's one thing.
It's just one thing,
yeah.
Right? Like most people feel like, I'm gonna one day get to a rooftop and say, I made it, right? Like that never happens. That never happens. If you're doing it the right way, that day never comes, because it's constant battle. It's a constant struggle. You know the word love in 3 different religions. So in Judaistic, it actually means struggle. Love in Judaism, it actually means struggle. In Islam, love actually means submission. In Christianity, love means sacrifice. So if you're talking about sacrifice, struggle, right, and submission, do you think love? No, not at all. Not like
people think torture.
People think torture, right, or some sick, twisted, whatever. But anyways, before we go down that path, key performance indicators, right? We got to have the discipline. My recommendation to go to somebody that you love, respect, that is doing what you're doing, and ask them, what are some of the key performance indicators? What are some things that you did every single day, every single month, every single week that you did to get to help get to where you are right now? And what are some things that you would change? And do that with 5, 10 different individuals, and really think about what you're really good at. And so marinate that with what your talents are, what today's market is, what people want. Go out, collect data, ask people what are some of the greatest problems that I can help solve for you right now. If you do all those things, you will have so much clarity in terms of what you should do today to help you become a millionaire. It's a lot. It'll keep people busy for sure. Second story, I'm going to wrap up with this last story. So I remember I was sitting down with an investor friend of mine, and we were sitting in Rosemont, and this guy is, worth a lot of money. He's the type of dude where he would say, Daniel, any deal under 20 million, just let me know, ring me up. I'll write a check in 2 weeks, and unfortunately, he's passed, so rest in peace. But I remember we were sitting at a restaurant together, and, he says, Daniel, you ever meet a billionaire? I'm like, no. I only met 2 billionaires in my life, by the way. I met that dude, and I met Mark Cuban. And then I'm sitting down, and I said, no. And he's like, well, you're about to. My buddy Mark is walking in. So interesting, this guy's name was also Mark. So I won't share that. I never got his name, by the way. I only knew his first name. But he was walking by, and I was like, hey, my name is Daniel Kwok. How are you? I was 22 at the time. So this is about 5 years ago. And he's like, hey, nice to meet you, young man. How are you doing? How's he treating you? Great. And I asked myself, my friend tells me you're a billionaire, super humble guy. Watching him, you would have never guessed he's a billionaire, right? You would actually think he was a thousandaire, a billionaire, right? And so I asked him, like, I gotta ask. I'm tempted here, and please, I hope I'm not sounding rude, but what made you a billionaire compared to a millionaire? What are the things that you did?
Good question.
That separated you from being a millionaire? It's like kind of watching an NBA game, right? It's like, what do these guys do that the college players didn't do? Because the college players, same amount of talent, 9 times out of 10, same size, same stat. What is it that these NBA guys did differently? So I asked this dude, hey, what did you do that made you a billionaire? And he says, Daniel, millionaires focus on ideas, execution. They focus on strategy. They focus on whatever, vision, whatever you name it. Above all, there's one thing I've always focused on. By the way, subscribe while I have you in this moment to Matt's channel. All right? Right. Click, right? But he says, there's one thing I focused on above all things, and it was networking. That's it. He's like, that's the one thing I've always constantly been intentional about my entire career. He said,
Massive.
As long as I could remember, as long as I was 7 years old, whenever I meet somebody very cool, interesting, awesome for me to learn from, I would ask that individual, is there anybody else that, hey, would you mind introducing me to somebody that I'm having a big problem with this? Or, hey, I'm looking to do this. He was never afraid to ask for new networks. He saw networks as currency, as opposed to, right? I believe there's 4 currencies in life. Right? There's knowledge, people, time, and money. Money for a very specific reason, an obvious reason, is the lowest on our list. Right? Time, people, I'm convinced in business is the most important currency, right? People and time. But that's what he says. Above all, I've prioritized one thing above anything else, and it was networking, it was people, and building bridges, and actually learning the art of collaboration. That was it. And that stuck with me, like, even to this day.
Powerful.
Yeah.